Chosen one, heaven has shifted its course just to call your name. This moment is not random, and it is not an accident that you are here. It was written into the oldest scrolls before your birth, inscribed in fire upon the altar of God. While the world calls it a coincidence, heaven calls it destiny. You may think you simply stumbled upon these words, but the truth is far deeper. Heaven has carved a straight path through the noise, the chaos, and the darkness just to bring this message to you now. For ages, Archangel Michael stood at the gates of light, guarding the borders between realms, silently warring for what you could not see. But today, he has stepped forward not to remain distant, but to make sure you hear this call. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not lost among the nameless masses. You are chosen, and that changes everything. The heavens have watched every trembling step you took, every night you cried alone, every moment you thought no one saw. And while the world assumed your story was ending, heaven was secretly planning your rise. Understand this. This is not just a message you are reading. This is the threshold of a new chapter written with your name on it. The doors that refuse to open are beginning to move. The chains you could not see are weakening under the weight of divine purpose. This is your summons, your awakening, your invitation to rise. So quiet the noise around you. Silence the doubts within you. Fix your heart and spirit on this one truth. The armies of heaven are standing still, waiting for your response. If this message touched your spirit, respond now. Comment, 777 I receive this divine call, or I accept my scroll, I am chosen. Let heaven see your yes, and let hell know it lost its grip on your destiny. This is your moment to rise. Chosen one. What you carried was never ordinary, so the weight upon your life could never be light. You have wondered in silence why your journey has felt heavier than everyone else's, why the storms seemed to chase you, why betrayal came from the very hands you once trusted, and why opportunities slipped through your fingers just when they were within reach. It is because you were never called to live an ordinary story. The weight you carried was the proof of the calling you were born to carry. Heaven did not place you among the multitudes to blend in. Heaven set you apart to stand out, to break barriers, to carry something eternal, and anything eternal is forged in fire. Understand this. The intensity of your suffering was not a punishment. It was preparation. Your heartbreaks were not signs that God had abandoned you. They were evidence that you were being shaped for something far greater than where you were. Like gold refined in the furnace, you were placed in heat, not to be destroyed, but to be purified. Like a seed pressed into darkness, you were buried not to die, but to break open and rise. Every cry you thought heaven ignored was heard. Every sleepless night became mortar in the foundation of your destiny. Every moment you thought was wasted was actually building the strength you would need to stand in the place God is leading you to. And yes, this is why the battles came harder for you than for others. The enemy does not waste his arrows on empty targets. He only fights what he fears. And he feared what you would become if you ever discovered who you really are. That is why the fire was hotter around your life, because you are the one heaven marked, the one hell could not erase, the one chosen to carry light into places long ruled by shadows. So do not despise your scars. They are the map of how far you've come. Do not be ashamed of your tears. They are the water that has softened the soil for your harvest. And do not think for a moment that any of it was in vain. The very pain that tried to break you has become the proof that you were called to rise. You are still standing because you were never meant to fall. And this is only the beginning of what heaven is about to reveal through you. Chosen one, you must understand this with sobering clarity. There were people who smiled to your face while secretly selling your name in the dark. This battle around your life did not happen by chance. It was orchestrated. While you were walking in innocence, unaware, there were hidden conversations where your name was spoken like currency, traded, twisted, and weaponized. They pretended to care for you, but behind closed doors they cut deals as if your destiny belonged to them. They tried to rewrite what heaven had already written about you. They thought they could lock doors that heaven had opened. This is why nothing seemed to move when you pushed. Why did opportunities collapse just as they were within reach? Why, every time you stood on the edge of breakthrough, something invisible pushed it away? It was not bad luck. It was not a coincidence. It was intentional resistance from hearts cloaked in envy and lips dripping with false honor. They saw the glow on your life, and they feared it. They feared what would happen if you ever rose into your true place. But here is what they did not know. Every whisper they sent against you had to pass through heaven's court first, and every scheme they formed was intercepted. Archangel Michael himself stood between their daggers and your soul. Every curse hurled toward you shattered in his hands. Every word designed to bury you was stripped of power the moment it left their mouths. Heaven never gave them permission to succeed, and because heaven did not permit it, they could not prevail. Understand the seriousness of this. Your delay was never a sign of defeat. It was evidence of the war that raged over your calling. The resistance around your life was not about who you were, it was about who you are becoming. The enemy knew your future carried fire too great to be ignored, so he tried to suffocate it before it ignited. That is why the pressure was relentless. That is why the opposition was unexplainable. But their time has expired. The secret contracts are torn. The false alliances are dissolving like ash. What they built to block you is collapsing under its own weight. Heaven has declared an end to their schemes and a beginning to your release. The shadows that tried to strangle your light will now witness your rising. Chosen one, hear this with the full weight it carries. The war that raged in the unseen over your life has ended, and heaven has won. For years, battles were fought over your destiny that you were never meant to see. While you wept from wounds you could not explain, angels were clashing swords against forces sworn to erase you. There were nights you thought you were simply breaking down, yet in the unseen realm it was the sound of chains shattering as Archangel Michael struck the ground in your defense. You did not know it, but entire armies of darkness were mobilized against your rising. They whispered that you would collapse. They plotted to stop you before you could even see who you are. And yet, you are still here. That alone is the greatest evidence of heaven's victory, because if their plans had succeeded, you would not be breathing right now. If their curses had held power, you would have disappeared silently, another forgotten name. But you were not forgotten, you were defended. Every arrow launched against you dissolved in midair, because Michael caught them with blood-stained hands and broke them across his knee. Every trap designed to humiliate you was disarmed before you stepped into it. You were shielded by a covering you did not earn, a mercy you could not see, and a power your enemies could not overcome. Understand this clearly. You did not survive by accident. You survived because heaven refused to lose you. You survived because you are necessary to the story God is still writing on the earth. You carry something hell could not kill. That is why the storms came so violently. That is why you were pressed harder than others, because your survival was a threat to the kingdom of darkness itself. But now the decree has been spoken from the throne. The battle is over. The siege has been lifted. The war in the shadows has ended. What once stalked you will no longer follow you. The spiritual embargo over your life has been broken. The enemy has been forced to retreat, stripped of authority and silenced in shame. You are not under attack anymore. You are under divine protection, marked by the seal of victory. The season of warfare has closed. The season of rebuilding has begun. Chosen one, listen carefully. The invisible war that raged over your life has ended, and heaven has won. For years, you lived under a weight you could not name. You felt resistance in places that should have been easy. Storms rising from clear skies, doors slamming shut without reason. What you could not see was that these were not coincidences. They were battles. While you wrestled with sleepless nights and silent tears, entire legions of darkness were mobilized to suffocate your destiny before it could awaken. They studied your weaknesses, timed their attacks, and struck when you were most vulnerable, not because you were weak, but because they feared what you would become if you ever stood in your full authority. Behind the curtain of this world, the battlefield was real. While you were crumbling on the outside, angels were clashing swords in the unseen. Every time you whispered, "I can't go on," the heavens shouted back, "They must not fall." When you thought you were simply breaking down, it was actually the sound of chains snapping off your soul. Archangel Michael himself stood over you like a wall of fire, catching arrows in his hands, tearing up contracts written in darkness, and overturning tables where your name had been traded like cheap currency. You were never alone. You were surrounded by armies of light, even when you felt wrapped in silence. Understand the depth of this truth. If the enemy's plans had worked, you would not be breathing now. If the curses hurled at your name had carried any authority, your story would have ended quietly, erased before it began. But you were not erased, you endured. You were preserved not by chance, but by decree. Heaven refused to lose you. Your survival was not accidental. It was a verdict spoken in the courts of eternity. This one will live. This one will rise. The enemy fought so violently because your existence is a threat to his empire. He knew your rising would break patterns of destruction that have stood for generations. He knew your voice would tear down strongholds he has guarded for decades. So he tried everything. Delays, betrayals, false accusations, silent opposition, but nothing could destroy what God has chosen. And now the final word has been issued from the throne. The war in the shadows is over. The siege against your destiny has been broken. The spiritual embargo around your life has been lifted. The darkness that stalked you has been commanded to release you completely. You are no longer a battlefield, you are a fortress. You are no longer under attack. You are under divine protection. The heavens have shifted from defense to celebration, and the enemy has been driven out in defeat and shame. The season of warfare has ended. The season of rebuilding begins now. Chosen one, heaven has spoken, and when the throne speaks, nothing on earth or in hell can overrule it. The courtroom of heaven has convened. The gavel has struck. The verdict concerning your life has been sealed in fire. The time of delay is over, and the season of divine fulfillment has begun. This is not a suggestion, not a prophecy awaiting approval. It is a royal decree issued from the highest authority. What God has spoken over you can no longer be postponed, diluted, or hidden. It must come to pass. Understand the weight of this moment. For years, your destiny was contested like disputed territory. Every step forward was met with resistance, every door with invisible locks, every opportunity with unseen sabotage. But now the throne has rendered its decision. The accusations have been dismissed, the charges have been torn to pieces. The signature of the enemy has been erased from every document written against your name. In its place, heaven has stamped one word over your life: approved. This is not about human permission. It is not about who likes you, supports you, or recognizes your value. The decree has bypassed every earthly system. It does not require their agreement, their applause, or their endorsement. What heaven has authorized, man cannot cancel. What the throne has opened, no mortal hand can close. This is why the atmosphere around your life is shifting, even though nothing external seems to make sense, because the spiritual verdict has changed. The sentence of delay has been overturned. The season of wandering has expired. The seal of divine release has been set. And this decree carries power. When God declares a thing, creation bends to obey. Nature rearranges itself. Time realigns. The very molecules of reality respond to his voice. This is why things will begin to accelerate around you, because the command has gone out from the throne, and angels have been dispatched to carry it to completion. Where there was stagnation, there will be sudden movement. Where there was silence, there will be prophetic confirmation. Where there were closed gates, you will see them swing open of their own accord. You are stepping out from under the verdict of not yet, and stepping into the reality of now. Heaven has declared, you are chosen, you are released, you are unstoppable. The waiting season has ended. The fulfillment season has begun. So rise, chosen one. The throne has spoken, and its word cannot return void. Chosen one, the chains have snapped, the locks have shattered, and what was sealed against you is opening by the hand of God himself. For too long, invisible chains wrapped around your spirit, tightening each time you dared to hope. They whispered lies, that you were too late, too broken, too unworthy, too far behind. They wrapped themselves around your identity, choking your confidence and blinding your sight. These were not just circumstances, they were spiritual restraints, forged by fear, failure, and generational curses that had stalked your bloodline for decades. Every time you tried to rise, they pulled you back down. Every time you moved forward, something unseen yanked you into the shadows. And for a time, you began to wonder if this cycle was all there would ever be. But heaven did not forget you. While you thought nothing was happening, Michael was breaking seals in the unseen. One by one, the chains began to weaken. Every whispered prayer of yours became a hammer in the spirit. Every tear that hit the floor became a crack in the shackles around your soul. You thought you were just surviving, but you were actually shaking the prison from the inside. Now the cell door stands open, not by human effort, but by divine intervention. The decree has been signed. Release them, for they belong to me. No. Understand this. The breaking of chains is not just the end of bondage, it is the beginning of destiny. Those chains were not only holding you back, they were holding back generations tied to your name. Your release is not only for you, it is for every future voice that will rise because you dared to break free. When God breaks chains, he breaks them completely, not one link left intact. The patterns that once enslaved your family line will end with you. The curses that haunted your childhood will not touch your children. What held your bloodline hostage will never return. You are the hinge upon which an entire legacy will turn. And now, as the chains fall, the locks are coming undone. Doors that were sealed shut for years are swinging open. Scrolls of destiny that were hidden from you are being handed into your palms. The assignments you thought you forfeited are returning, glowing with new authority. Heaven is not merely removing restraints, it is unlocking what has always been yours. You will walk in places that once rejected you. You will speak words that carry weight you never knew you had. Where you once begged to be included, you will now be summoned as essential. This is your Exodus moment. You are walking out of captivity, not crawling. You are leaving bondage as a crowned heir, not a broken survivor. The chains are gone, the door is open, destiny is waiting. Chosen one, heaven is not merely setting you free, it is enthroning you. You are not leaving this wilderness as a wanderer, you are emerging as royalty. This is not poetic language, it is legal reality in the courts of heaven. For years, you walked in silence while others were celebrated. You watched people less faithful, less pure, less steadfast be elevated while you remained hidden, unseen, misunderstood. It was not because you were overlooked, it was because you were being reserved. Heaven does not rush the coronation of kings and priests. It waits until the character forged in the fire can carry the weight of the crown. And now, that moment has come. The throne has summoned the ceremony. The veil has been lifted. The scroll bearing your name has been opened before the elders, and the command has gone out. Clothe them in glory. Place the crown upon their head. Michael himself stands as witness, holding the diadem heaven forged through your tears. Angels gather like blazing torches around you, forming an aisle of fire as you are led forward. They are not mourning the battles you fought, they are celebrating the fact that you survived them. Their cry shakes the heavens, "Victory, victory!" This crown is not ornamental, it is functional. It carries authority. It marks you as one commissioned by the king. The oil of heaven is being poured on your head, not drops, but a flood signifying that your suffering has reached its completion and your reign as a steward of heaven's assignments has begun. The robe of honor is being draped across your shoulders, woven from the very seasons that tried to break you. Every betrayal became a thread of gold. Every delay became a gem. You are not being rewarded despite your scars. You are being crowned because of them. Understand this. Coronation is not the end of your pain. It is the proof that it had purpose. Heaven would not crown what had not endured. This is why you were hidden for so long, because glory cannot rest on unstable ground. But now, the foundation has been tested and proven. You are stable. You are ready. The crown does not make you chosen. It reveals you always were. From this moment forward, you are no longer striving for validation. You carry it. You are no longer seeking permission. You embody it. When you walk, realms will recognize your rank. When you speak, creation will respond. You have been crowned before the throne, and what heaven crowns, no power on earth can unseat. Chosen one, the famine is over, and heaven has prepared a table with your name written on it. This is not just a meal, this is a proclamation. This banquet is heaven's public declaration that your season of scarcity has ended. The table has been set in the throne room, stretching farther than the eye can see, covered in treasures you once thought were lost forever. Angels move about like living flames, placing cups overflowing with promises fulfilled, setting platters filled with answered prayers still warm from the heart of God. Every dish carries the taste of restoration. Every cup carries the fragrance of joy. This is not charity, this is a covenant. You are not here as a guest. You are here as an heir. For years, you fed on crumbs of hope, rationing your faith just to make it through another day. You lived as though provision were fragile, as though one wrong step would collapse everything. You quietly endured seasons where doors stayed locked, where dreams withered on the vine, where it seemed heaven had forgotten your address. But heaven was not punishing you. Heaven was preparing the feast. It waited until your character could carry the weight of abundance without worshipping it. And now, the time has come. Understand the depth of this. Abundance is not simply having more. Abundance is the visible signature of divine favor. When God sets you at his table, lack loses its power over your mind. Fear of scarcity breaks off your soul. The orphan spirit that once made you hustle for scraps will vanish in the presence of the King. You will not beg at this table, you will breathe here. You will not compete for space, you will belong here. This table is not fragile, and it is not temporary. It has been carved into eternity, reserved for you before the foundations of the world. And heaven wants you to eat without guilt, to laugh without suspicion, to drink deeply from joy without looking over your shoulder waiting for it to disappear. Because this table is not the reward for your striving, it is the inheritance of your surrender. What you see now overflowing before you is the evidence that the drought has ended. The days of barely surviving are gone. The season of living in overflow has come. So take your seat, chosen one. Lift your cup high. You are no longer scraping the floor for crumbs. You are dining in the palace of the King, and heaven is watching you enjoy what hell swore you would never touch. Chosen one, the feast has ended, and now the King rises from his throne to place destiny into your hands. This is the moment heaven has been building toward since before you breathed your first breath. As the last echoes of celebration fade in the banquet hall, a holy hush falls over the throne room. The atmosphere shifts. This is not about comfort anymore. It is about commissioning. The Father calls you forward, and all of heaven stands still as he lifts two sacred objects from the altar, a set of keys in his right hand and a sealed scroll in his left. And with a voice that shakes the pillars of eternity, he declares, "These belong to the one I have chosen." Understand this with trembling awe. The keys symbolize authority. They are not symbolic trinkets. They are legal instruments in the courts of heaven. They grant you access where others see only walls. They open gates long rusted shut by fear, doubt, and delay. When you carry these keys, you will not knock timidly. Doors will recognize your touch and unlock themselves. Systems will bend to make room. Timelines will accelerate. Closed realms will swing open as though commanded, because they are. Heaven has authorized you to enter and possess what was promised. And the scroll, this is the mystery you have sensed your entire life, but could never name. It is the blueprint of your calling, the record of every assignment heaven reserved exclusively for your hands. Written in fire and sealed with the signet of God, it contains the works prepared for you before the foundation of the world. You are not wandering anymore. You are walking in the script heaven wrote about you. As you break its seal, you will find instructions hidden in your spirit since birth suddenly awakening. Dreams will align with divine timing. Gifts that once lay dormant will ignite like lightning. This moment is not about ambition. It is about stewardship. Heaven is entrusting you with what generations prayed for and never saw. These keys and this scroll are not rewards for survival. They are responsibilities for reigning. The Father is not giving you permission to dream small. He is commanding you to dream according to his scale. And so, before the witnesses of heaven, he places the keys in your right hand and the scroll in your left. Michael bows. Angels roar. The courtroom erupts. You stand commissioned, authorized, ordained. You no longer wonder if you have a purpose. You hold it. You no longer ask if you are called. You carry the proof. Heaven has placed destiny into your hands, and nothing on earth or in hell can take it from you. Chosen one, you are no longer just surviving on the earth, you are being sent into it as heaven's representative. The moment you received the keys and the scroll, your status changed. You are not a bystander to history. You are heaven's intervention inside it. This world may still see you as ordinary, but the spiritual realm has already shifted. Your name now carries the weight of a royal commission. When you move, angels move with you. When you speak, realms listen. What once resisted you will now recognize you not because of who you were, but because of the mantle you now wear. Understand this. Authority is not arrogance. It is responsibility. You are not being crowned for applause. You are being authorized for assignment. The oil on your life is not for comfort, it is for conquest. The Spirit of the Lord rests upon you, not to decorate you, but to deploy you. Wherever your feet touch, the atmosphere will begin to align with the decrees of heaven. When you enter a room, spiritual climates will shift. When you open your mouth, old chains will break off those who hear you. What was once impossible will become inevitable, because you now walk under an open heaven, and the earth will feel it. Nature itself responds when someone walks in their God-given authority. Obstacles will move. Systems will bend. People who once dismissed you will suddenly make space, not because they changed their opinion, but because heaven has shifted the spiritual order. The same doors that slammed in your face will now swing wide on their own, as though commanded because they are. When heaven authorizes someone, even creation makes way. But you must carry this authority with reverence. You are not walking as a conqueror for your own name. You are walking as an ambassador for his. Your words must be precise. Your steps must be intentional. Your presence is not casual, it is catalytic. Every act of obedience will ripple beyond what your eyes can see. Every declaration you make in alignment with the scroll will shape the future for others still trapped in delay. This mantle is not light, but it is glorious. You are being released, not as a survivor limping from battle, but as a general leading heaven's campaign. You do not walk hoping for permission. You walk carrying orders sealed in fire. The realm of darkness already knows who you are, and now the earth will know it too. Go forth, chosen one. Walk the ground heaven has given you. Move as one sent, not one seeking. You are heaven's answer walking in human form, and your authority will make the earth tremble. Chosen one. Heaven did not preserve you in secret just to keep you hidden. You are about to become a living testimony, visible to the world. For years, your story was buried beneath silence. Your obedience was unseen. Your tears were shed where no one applauded. While others rose quickly into platforms, you walked quietly through valleys, learning the language of faith when no one was watching. It seemed as though heaven had muted your life, cloaked your brilliance, concealed your light. But concealment was never rejection, it was incubation. Like a seed buried in the dark, you were not hidden to be forgotten. You were hidden to take root so deeply that when you emerged, no storm could uproot you. Now, heaven is pulling back the veil. The same God who allowed you to be unseen is about to make you unforgettable. This is not for your ego, it is for His glory. Your story will not be paraded for entertainment. It will be displayed as evidence. Evidence that God still resurrects the forgotten. Evidence that faith still outlasts opposition. Evidence that those marked by heaven cannot be erased by hell. Understand this. When heaven chooses to showcase someone, it is never shallow. This unveiling is not about fame, it is about fruit. You will not be celebrated merely for what you accomplished. You will be recognized for what you carried through the fire. People will marvel not just at your success, but at your survival. They will ask how you endured, and you will point to the one who held you together. Nations will hear your name, but they will glorify His. This is how your testimony will echo, not as self-promotion, but as a prophetic signpost pointing upward, and your influence will stretch beyond what you can see. Your words will break chains in people you have never met. Your faith will ignite courage in generations not yet born. Your obedience will ripple across borders and timelines. Heaven is placing your life on display like a lamp set on a hill, not to boast of you, but to prove what God can do with a willing vessel. Where you once begged to be included, you will now be summoned as essential. Where you were once silenced, you will become a voice that cannot be ignored. You are not being elevated for applause. You are being elevated for impact. The world will see you, but they will encounter Him. You will stand as living proof that God's promises are real, that His timing is perfect, and that His chosen ones always rise. Your life will no longer whisper in shadows. It will thunder in light. Chosen one, heaven has sealed you, and what heaven seals, no power on earth or in hell can undo. This is the moment everything shifts forever. The battles that once defined you will no longer name you. The silence that once surrounded you will no longer hide you. The doubts that once clung to your mind will no longer speak. The King has risen from His throne, and with a single motion of His hand, He has pressed His signet upon your life. The fire of His authority has branded you, mine, chosen, irrevocable. This is not a season, this is a status. It does not expire, it cannot be stolen, it cannot be earned, and it cannot be undone. Understand the weight of this. A seal in heaven is final. It is more than approval, it is ownership. It means your identity is no longer in negotiation. You are not trying to become chosen. You are not hoping to stay chosen. You are chosen eternally, and nothing can reverse it. You could be praised or rejected, celebrated or forgotten, applauded or opposed, and it would change nothing. The verdict over your life is sealed, and that seal carries more power than every human opinion combined. You do not have to prove yourself anymore. You have already proven. And with the seal comes the shift. You are not just surviving history, you are about to shape it. The scroll you carry will now unfold across the earth. The keys you hold will unlock regions, systems, and hearts that have been closed for generations. The crown on your head is not a decoration. It is a command to reign. You are being established as a ruler in your assigned sphere, not for your own glory, but to extend His. Your voice will anchor movements, your steps will shift atmospheres, your obedience will birth legacies. This is not the aftermath of your battles, this is the beginning of your reign. The days of striving are over. The striving was to survive, there will be to multiply. You will not walk timidly, As though testing if you belong, you will walk as one who has been sent, sealed, and enthroned. The enemy knows it, heaven knows it. Now the earth will know it too. Chosen one, raise your head. The wilderness is behind you, the throne is beneath you, and eternity is upon you. The seal has been set, the crown has been given. Your reign has begun, and it will not end.